Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Atlantic Coast Mortgage, the Mortgage View, where this episode I'm super excited about. We have all former military loan officers that work at Atlantic Coast Mortgage, so I'm super excited about that. First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for your service and how blessed and lucky I am to work with all of you. And I would love to have you guys start off by introducing yourself. Let us know what branch of the military you served and where you live today. Nick, can you start us off?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Nick Guyton. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. After graduating from the Pennsylvania State University, I went into the Marine Corps, started in the infantry, and then I moved into Spec Ops with MARSOC. Got out off active duty late 2010 and settled in Northern Virginia for government contract work. And now here I am in the mortgage world. I'm licensed in Virginia, Maryland, DC, West Virginia, and also North Carolina.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. Thanks for being on the show today, Nick. Scott, tell us where you're from.
Yes, I am in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in air defense, so I surveyed enemy and friendly airspace. Been in the mortgage industry nearly 20 years now, and I am licensed in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and also Texas.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for coming, Scott.
Absolutely.
Tom, tell us where you're from.
Hi, I'm Tom Elliott. I live in Mount Pleasant in Washington, D.C. I had 10 years in the Army as a combat engineer. I've been in the mortgage business also about 10 years, and I originate in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia.
Wonderful. Welcome. Jennifer, tell us where you're
Hi,
from.
my name is Jennifer Zinn, and I was in the Air Force. I love the air, so that was the path for me. So I was an airborne radar technician in the Air Force, and then I was also in the Air National Guard for a few years. Grew up in Pennsylvania, small coal miners town, and now I live in Northern Virginia.
Awesome. And what states do you serve as a loan officer?
Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida.
That's awesome. And Jennifer also has her pilot license. How amazing is that?
Oh, wow.
I do.
Rock star. Well, wonderful. Let's jump into our first segment of current events. All right. Please help me. There we go. Current events. Wanted to talk a little bit about this market. I know our viewers are curious. What's going on in this market? Where are there challenges? Where are they? What are you guys experiencing? Scott, do you want to lead us off?
Sure. I mean, right now the big topic is the debt ceiling and how that's affecting the market, and also what it can impact with interest rates that's going on. So that's been a little turbulent that I've been seeing, and the questioning how far it's going to go. But hey, just like anything, we have challenges. We'll definitely get through it. But that's what I've been seeing in the news as of lately, has been the kind of talk of the town.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone have anything else to add? Where they're seeing opportunities or challenges in the market with current events? I mean, personally, what I'm, the overall feeling of the market is interest rates are higher. They jumped up, fairly quickly in a, 18-month span. And then house prices are trending higher too. So affordability is important to buyers, and also just whether or not they want to compete in this kind of market. And there's people that have the interest rates in the 2s and the 3s that maybe don't want to leave their mortgage more than their homes. Maybe they want to move, but they are not ready to with the current interest rates. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Well, let's jump into our next segment, which is my favorite, which is the home inspiration segment. Welcome back. Let's talk home inspiration stories. I'm going to start off with mine. I had a client who was looking to buy, and he started looking about 2 years ago. So it's been a long journey with him. And when he started out, rates were, in the 3s. And he was looking for a home in this Northern Virginia area. And really he thought, in his price range that it wouldn't be that competitive. And he kind of found out that it actually was. So he had to make a lot of adjustments through the last 2 years. And, another thing was he had a home that he was going to sell, and like he ideally wanted to time it perfectly, but realized that his best advantage to purchasing was to actually sell first and rent. So there were a lot of discussions going through the 2-year period with him and holding his hand through the process. And I think a lot of times when people are looking for a mortgage, they really want to partner with someone that's going to be with them and have the product that kind of fit. At one point we were talking about bridge loans, which we do a lot of at Atlantic Coast. And, we ended up going a different direction that fed his needs. But I think he was very appreciative of having a partnership with someone that knew what they were doing, helped guide him through the different markets, and was always, watching the interest rates for him. So we had like a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and we executed. He closed yesterday, so he was super excited. So that's a big win over here. What do you have to share, Nick?
Yeah, mine's kind of a veteran buyer story. So dealing with a veteran buyer, obviously VA loan in this market, the DC market, super competitive still because inventory is so low.
Yes.
So this buyer actually started working with him maybe 2 months ago, put multiple offers in, and just so happened the agent that was representing him was a buddy of mine from contract days. We reconnected in this world, but we struck out on the first 4 offers just because everything's getting escalated up, prices getting high, bid up, and then finally, I think one of the things we do really well at Atlantic Coast is just the speed and efficiency of our process. So we got super aggressive on a VA loan and went in above the ask, $40,000 above the asking price. But keep in mind we still have the VA appraisal and the timeline there. So the appraisal came back in on the 10th day at like 10 p.m. at night, and it came in a little low. But luckily there was an addendum in the sales contract that he was only going to go $25,000 over the appraisal price. So we were quickly able to get that all wrapped up that next morning and still make a closing at 3 p.m. that day. So again, hats off to the team at Atlantic Coast and how quick we can actually help our veteran buyers with that VA process.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was like a quick close, and then you got the appraisal, the VA appraisal. They're given the 10 days that they have to do it, and so you got it at the last minute. And then a lot of mortgage companies would be like, "Yeah, we need now to do all these other things," but you're able to quickly turn it around and get your buyer into the home. So I'm sure that was a big win for your team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Scott, what about you? Do you have a story that you can share, a home inspiration story?
Yeah, sure. Home inspiration. I mean, doing this for a while, we all have different type of transactions that they go super smooth or some are a little turbulent and everything. But I just wanted to touch base on the multiple bars we have every month or annually throughout the year that we have to help, because being in the military, you're PCSing, moving around. So they really trust us to really hit deadlines. And a lot of times they're buying a lot of houses, sight unseen. And you have one spouse that's deployed, you have another spouse handling the home front, trying to do the house search with the agent, on FaceTime. And what really gets me is that every month when we help these veterans, it's a huge inspiration to make sure you connect with them and also you deliver, because this is their livelihood they're dealing with. This is their house. They're trying to build their family and everything like that. And you don't have to be, this credit union or other lenders that they feel they have to go with, because a lot of times they don't do their due diligence and qualifying the borrower up front. They get different information, and also the timeframes and availability of that actual loan officer is non-existent. So with ACM, the history that we have here, I'm able to close super quickly in this competitive market is a huge benefit for all our veterans that are PCSing and trying to close in a certain time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of times the larger companies are better at marketing themselves. Like they've got the veteran, like a Navy Federal or like USAA or even like a Veterans United. But like when it comes down to the details and partnering with a loan officer that really understands, the current market and the communication that's needed with someone that's, going to be finding a house from overseas, and getting their family over, and how important it is to do the things that you say that you're going to do and hit the time frames. It's very disheartening. A lot of times we will rescue deals from other lenders where they can't get it done, and that means someone's not getting in their house, and that's a big deal.
Totally.
Yep. Jennifer, can you share a story?
Yes. So I'm always surprised. So when I joined the military, like one of my main concerns was just, establishing my future and just having a house. So like when I turned 22, I learned about the veterans loan, and I got my first house at 22. So I had a borrower that was even a general. I think he was a brigadier general, and never used his VA benefits.
Wow.
So it just surprises me that some of that stature, like over the years, they wouldn't have known about the benefits. So, he was super excited. He had the disability awarded as well. So he was able to get a VA loan with super, low down payment. Well, no down payment. I think he ended up putting a little bit down. He didn't have the funding fee, and, the lowest rate out there. So it's just one of the stories, I think, just education for the veterans, just knowing what their options are. Just transitioning in general, and just like what's available to them. It's just amazing that they don't know that. And you can even have 2 VA loans. So I myself have 2 VA loans. So if you end up buying one and move, that can be your investment property, and you can get another where you go. So there's a ton of options for the veterans.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and I'm surprised that that you can, if you have enough eligibility, you can get 2 VA loans at the same time. People aren't unaware of that. And then also, like you highlighted, with the VA loan, it's such a great loan for the veteran, which they deserve, obviously, but it's the lowest 30-year fixed payment with no mortgage insurance. And you can put 0 down. The seller could cover closing costs. You could get in with very low money. So, Tom, do you have a story that you can share maybe that highlights those things?
Yeah, so sort of piggyback. I had a client who purchased in DC in the last couple of years, and she bought a property in a condo where she wanted to live, and with the seller assistance and her VA benefit, she came out of pocket only a couple $100 to get into a $300,000 condo. It was cheaper than first month's rent and security deposit.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those stories where people, basically for very little money can get into a home where they were renting before, and they can start that, build in equity. It's awesome. Good stuff. I have another, borrower that I wanted to share as a veteran. They went with a large builder because they were getting closing cost money, and the builder actually couldn't really navigate their loan. Sometimes lenders, they're used to sort of vanilla loans. When there's multiple steps, they have an issue. So they were actually able to get the closing costs and go through us, and we were able to walk them through kind of the best use of their money. They were selling a house, they had some debts, we paid some things off, and we're able to get them into a house. So there's when you're working with experienced lenders like we have at Atlantic Coast with Jennifer, Scott, Nick, and Tom, you're going to have a loan officer that can partner with you, look at your unique scenario, and then also come alongside you and help you in this competitive market win the deal. So that's awesome. Does anybody else have any other stories they want to share? All right, next up, we're going to Grow With Me. Grow with me. So personal growth is like my favorite hobby. And I love this section. So we're going to share a little bit about, something that we've either come over adversity or experiencing growth in career or life. And I've spent a lot of time working. So now I'm focused a little bit more on my health. And recently I took up tennis, which is something that I've been interested in for a long time, but really haven't, had the chance to investigate. And so it's such a fun sport. I don't even feel like I'm exercising. The time goes by super fast, and I've really been enjoying that. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is something that you've added or that you can share with the audience? Nick,
First, I'm going to say I taught tennis for like 8 years. Karen. So I'm going to have to come out and see those skills that you developed.
If you could please help me. My backhand is not good.
Yeah, I think for me, man, it's been, I always go back to something I learned when I first started training and all, for those of you who don't know, like Marine officers, the first school we go to, they call the basic schools, TBS. And one of the things that they preach and just ingrain into your mindset from the very beginning is brilliance in the basics. So that's kind of stuck with me throughout my, whole adult life, whether active duty, as a government contractor, business world, and now as a loan officer. I mean, it's just sticking to the basics and getting brilliant in the basics and doing those things day in and day out. Really helps me stay focused, because every day is going to be different in this world as we know it, and different. Every buyer is different, every client's different, and I think that's just one of the things that's really personal to me is, treating every client as a different borrower, and finding that exact best program that's going to fit their needs and make the process as stress-free and as seamless as possible from start to finish.
Yeah, and I know you're super great at that. And you were talking a little bit about your communication too, right?
Yeah, so part of that brilliance in the basics, it was like shoot, move, communicate, and that communication piece at the end there is by far the most important. And I don't think that's different in any profession. So whether you're communicating with our team, our colleagues at the company, or referral partners, and most importantly, the client. And I think through technology that we have available for us, I mean, I, as a active duty borrower, I never knew who my loan officer was. I went with a big lender, and I always felt alone and trying to figure it out on my own, and stressed through the whole process and in between deployments. One of the first things we do is shooting you that mortgage coach and that total cost analysis from day one, and you get to see our face, you get to see a person, and always being available for them, and that 24/7 mindset that is ingrained in you in the military, especially when you're running operations, overseas. That's one of the things I just love about, this business is, always being available for the client and, our referral partners. And it's just a great business to be in and serve the client.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I think one of the biggest complaints overall in the mortgage industry is the client doesn't always know where they stand, in the process. And sometimes as a loan officer, it's like, there's nothing that really happened between now and like a week from now, right? You're good to go. Now you're still good to go. And sometimes people just need to hear that. Hey, you're still good to go. I just wanted to let you know that, I want to keep the communications going on. Nothing's changed. You're ready to close. You're on track, right? And so I'm glad that you had that experience personally. I'm not, happy for your past experience personally, but now you can take
Terrible.
that. You can take that
Like
in.
pins and needles from the day of closing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. Tom, do you want to share something that you have been growing with?
A little bit in the same vein as Nick, is something that was drilled into me in the military was doing an after-action review after we did an event or an activity. And that's something that I've taken to my mortgage career and saying, what worked well in the transaction I did, what pain points, even if the customer didn't see them, did we have that I could, just by doing one more thing up front, make it so it didn't come up again. And that's been a big key to being successful in making my process smoother and smoother and smoother. And maybe one day it'll get perfect.
Yeah, I do love that when you constantly are refining based on, maybe something that a client asks and you're like, oh, you know what? It'd probably be better to mention that up front. So I love how you're continuously improving your process. That's great. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, with the growth with me, definitely I commend you because trying to stay active and physically fit is always a challenge. So, that's always a push. But with me, I've been very aspirational, very goal oriented just throughout my whole life and everything like that. So you put that pressure of always trying to hit whatever goal or next level you're trying to get to. And everyone is in love with the goal. But I learned just recently, just try to fall in love with the process. The process is going to lead you to that end result. And are you doing the things on a consistent basis, be it your personal life or your business life, it all comes out in the wash that you can ask yourself, hey, this day did I do this? Even if it's small, increments to go back to the gym is that, when I go, I try to, make sure I do cardio for this long and I'm lifting this day and everything like that. But some days you don't feel like going, but I told myself, hey, if I just get in there for 30 minutes, I showed up, and that is part of the process that I'm trying to hit the end result. So that's the biggest thing that I learned is that, don't be so farsighted, but just look, down at your feet. As long as you keep moving, you'll get there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the when you don't show up for yourself, you start to drift and maybe in the wrong direction. So showing up for yourself just like you would for others. That's great. Are you reading Atomic Habits? Yeah? You read it? It's a great book, right?
Phenomenal book.
Jem, what do you have to say?
I mean, Scott brings up a lot of good points about the journey, because I've never been a person that has been great with that either. So I'm just trying to take better care of myself and kind of help give more to others, and just enjoy the journey and helping others get to the point where they want to be as well. So it's all about that. I'm finding a lot more value and just reward, I guess, in that mindset. So I'm really enjoying it.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's all with the Grow With Me. Now we have our next segment, Hot Tips.
All right.
Awesome. So welcome back. We are talking about hot tips. Does anyone have any hot tips for home buyers they want to share? I will start. Okay. So right now, it is extremely important to have a loan officer that knows the difference between all the programs out there, and someone that has a wide variety, suite of products. So currently, there are a lot of opportunities for first-time home buyers. And if your loan officer doesn't know how to navigate that, there's a lot of income limits and things like that that go along with it. And so it's really important for your loan officer to be dialed in on the way that basically how to navigate that, so that they can place you in the best loan with the best interest rate. You agree, Scott? What you got?
Totally. Since we're all veterans here, doing a lot of VA loans, my biggest thing that I lend to a lot of my would-be borrowers that are, it goes across the board, but definitely to the veteran community, is just knowing your budget. Just start off knowing what you're comfortable paying, because I just learned over my tenure in the mortgage industry, everyone gravitates to, hey, what's the interest rate and what am I qualified for? I've learned years ago to kind of turn that around and say, hey, what are you comfortable paying on a monthly basis? You know your budget, your family knows your budget better than anything else. It doesn't have to be at the max, hey, where you're comfortable, but also a stretch payment. And then I reverse engineer it, and that's where, based on the market, we'll see exactly where your sales prices is at. Versus the alternative, when you go out, you see this house, and then you come back and say, hey, what's my payment? And it's $300 to $400 more than you even anticipated. So that would be a huge tip for a lot of buyers coming in. And then secondly, still talking to veteran community along with everyone else, is just start paying yourself first, and also take advantage of your thrift savings plan. Talking to a lot of veterans and looking at their LES statements and discussing with them, they don't have any type of savings started. And buying a house is one aspect of it, but definitely having some reserves and savings and trying to build future wealth is paramount.
I love that. And it really cares for the borrower to find out what are you comfortable with. And you can go from there, rather than, I was at a model home one time, and I was the in-house lender, and I was greeting a customer, and she was in a very expensive home. It was like $1 million, $1.2 million, and her budget was a lot lower. And so with 10% down, I don't know, the payment was like $6,000, and that was pretty much what she brought home every month. So it wasn't really within her budget. And I think that's kind of key, rather than finding the house and then, going back, start with the loan officer. Let's get that budget nailed down. What do you feel comfortable paying? And then, finding a home within your range. So I know, Nick, you mentioned how important it is, the different programs that we have. Do you want to talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, if I could go back in time and talk to myself 20 years younger, I wish I had someone that had the knowledge to pass on to me when I was, on active duty. to tell me. I think it's always great to get a second opinion, and we're kind of always pushed towards the big box lenders as military guys, but here at ACM, there's we waive all lender fees, so no processing, no underwriting fees. The suite of products we have, outside of just the VA loan for other buyers is awesome. Whether bridge loans or construction loans, 1-time, 2-time close, FHA loans, our non-QM loans. So it's just a big part. What I'm trying to do is get out there to educate our veterans and our active duty military, just because I think the education aspect is missed because op tempos are so high, and you're just worried about the mission, where a lot of guys are left in the dark when it comes to the home buying process.
Right. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that we waive fees for veteran loans, for VA loans. Yep. Great. Tom, do you have anything to share?
ACM has the option of creating a total cost analysis, which gives an opportunity for a loan officer to show to the borrowers, hey, these are the options available to you. These are the pluses and minuses of each one, so that when the customer makes a choice, they know why they chose the option they chose, but just as importantly, they know why they didn't take the other options that were available. So they're confident in their choice and in moving forwards.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that fact that, we give you enough options because we can narrow it down for you. We're not going to show you 50 options, but enough options where you do things side by side, and then you can see if what's most important to your goals and which option achieves that. Great. Jen?
Yeah, definitely. I like to review, 3 or 4 different options for people. Obviously, for a VA loan, it's a little more straightforward, but there is a huge difference, like in the funding fee. So if you put down 5%, that you're going to save like 1.5 points to the funding fee. So, there's different options to work through initially, to decide the best route for using the VA loan, or even if you have to go another route. So the funding fee, it's waived. If anyone doesn't know, like if you have at least 10% disability, you don't have to pay the funding fee at all. But you definitely want to see a few options and kind of nail that down before you start shopping and make sure you're set.
Yep. Good. That's very helpful. Thank you. All right. Next we have Investment Fastlane. All right. And Investment Fastlane, we're going to give any investment tips that we have. I wanted to start off by talking, and you hear this a lot in the market. I don't know if everyone's heard this, so I'll say it again. But, a lot of people say, marry the house, date the rate. And right now we are in a higher interest rate environment. And so, encouraging people to still purchase if it makes sense for you, knowing that potentially lower rates are coming in the near future. So that's kind of the guys, if it makes sense for you. Obviously you have to afford the current payment, but knowing that you could potentially get a lower payment when rates drop. What other areas do you guys see where it might make sense for investment, whether in real estate or anything else? Scott?
I think, I know. Real estate has done a lot for me and my family, looking to invest, just going forward. So just depending on where you're at, and if you're buying your first house or any type of second home or investment property, real estate is definitely the way to go. As they say, who do you want to pay? You want to pay your own mortgage, or you want to pay someone else's mortgage? So if you're able to, manage the current payments that you have, look to try to get a renter if you're going in an investment route. I know it's not. I know it's something that everyone has to do to try to build some type of security and wealth for themselves and also in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of where it makes sense to purchase now, I think if you take a look at, which areas, if you buy a house, a second home or an investment property, let's say investment property, where can you rent out the house? How much can you rent it out for? Can you Airbnb it in this area? There's certain areas, you're in close to Virginia Beach where you can't Airbnb your home, right? It's against the bylaws. So other areas in Florida where there might be a little more expensive, but you're making positive cash flow. So I think we're all available to run those numbers for people and to see if it makes sense, even in this market, even with higher rates, even with higher sales prices, people are still buying investment properties. They're not making any more land. So, I mean, it's a good tool in holding that property. So I think that really just partnering with the loan officer to see if an investment makes sense based on what you think you could get for it from a cash flow perspective.
Yeah, and I definitely think it helps a lot too if you do have a lender, a loan officer that does have investments, because there's so many different applications that you can use in today's market to do the research before you pay. I'm from Virginia Beach, grew up in Virginia Beach, but live in Chesapeake. So as you mentioned, certain areas are not accessible for Airbnb, but others are, and you can do your due diligence to see what is like a hot market to go ahead and try to purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, our next segment is probably the most fun. We call it basically we guess that house price. So we're looking forward to that. Also known as home trivia. So we're going to put up a house, you guys. Jennifer, Scott, Nick, and Tom, you're going to guess what you think that house price is worth, and then we're going to share the answer. See if you guys can tell us the house price. All right, so this house is in Dumfries, Virginia. It's got a nice backyard. Wow, close to the waterfront home in Dumfries, 3,500 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 bath. What do you guys think?
You want us to just throw out answers?
Yeah, throw out an answer. What do you got, Jen?
Like 850,000.
All right, Jen's got 850. Scott?
936.
936. All right. Nick?
Oh man, I was hoping you were going to call me last because I was going to do the Price is Right strategy and sit one and so they're all over. I'll go 5 bedrooms. I'm going to say 749.
749. All right, and the audience is welcome to participate as well. Tom, what you got?
I'm going to go high. I'm going to say 1-2.
Wow. All right. And the answer is Dumfries, Virginia, 924,000.
Oh, wow.
Scott was the closest, but it was over. So is he a winner, or I don't know?
No.
All right. Next up in Norfolk, Virginia, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,486 square feet in Norfolk, Virginia.
Is this a flip?
I don't know. It looks like a nice kitchen.
2 bath, 14.
Yeah, it's got to be a flip.
Oh, nice backyard. Oh, I like that.
I'll go with Jennifer Gibson. She says 420,000. That's what I'm going.
Are you going to say 420? What is it?
I'm going with the audience. I'm going to say 420.
420. All right. Scott?
265.
Jennifer?
325.
Tom?
Let's go 350.
All right, we got $285,000. Scott, I think you were
Holy crap.
again. Scott, do you have Zillow up?
No, you got to go to Virginia prices. That's in my backyard.
That's true. All right. Now this is in Tom's backyard in DC. What do we got?
0 bed, 1 bath.
0 beds? Studio apartment. Wow, that's nice though.
We're at in DC.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't you worry about it. I don't know. All right. Scott, we'll start with you.
DC, 405.
Tom.
I'm going to say 350.
Nick.
405. So let's go. Yeah, I like 499.
It's Jen.
Oh, man, I was like super high until I heard those guys. So I'm going to say,
It's high. It's 500, you'll win.
Let's say 525.
I'm gonna go with $1. We got $224,900 is the list price.
Ah,
So what a steal! I want to like find the buyer for that.
220.
Feels like
Yeah, really.
even with the rates current, like we can make that payment work. All right. Next up, Fairfax, Virginia. That's our where our headquarters is. 5 bedrooms, 3 bath, 3272 square feet. Fairfax, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Nice
Ooh,
kitchen.
nice kitchen.
Think about it. Think about it. Oh, it's pretty close to the house next door. All right, time's up. Jennifer.
$875.
Nick.
Don't I get to go last at least once?
I'm not keeping track. All right, you go last,
yeah,
Scott.
Fairfax, it's got to be 950.
950. Okay.
$899.
Tom?
Jennifer took my price.
Yeah. Ooh, it
let's
might
go
be right.
750.
750. So Nick, it was actually the closest at 950.
Wow.
Oh,
Any-
man.
It's listed at
Spot
949.
on.
What's the list price?
Does that mean I win that house?
You get it. You get to stay there one night. Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on The View today. Again, this is the ACM Mortgage View, and we're so lucky to be in business with you guys. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for
Thank
having us.
Thank you.